I'd like to call the meeting of the additional special meeting of the Cumberland Fire District to order. Gentlemen? Oh, this way. You show me. Sorry. Are we good? I'd like to start with a roll call, please. Commissioner Archibald?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah.
Commissioner Santoro?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan is absent. Commissioner Champagne?
Here.
Commissioner Scullin?
Yeah.
And Commissioner Willett is here. Thank you. Can we please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to just make an announcement that I'm very impressed with how Public Works and whoever else contributed to clearing the streets in after these past couple of storms has been very impressive. I know a few people were out, no, quite a few people were out of electricity, including myself, but we didn't have to wait long, so we were pretty fortunate. So just as a public acknowledgement to the town of Cumberland for doing a great job. General announcements. Does anyone have any general announcements?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Scullin.
I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge the letter that we received from the firefighters' local union. And I think the board should think long and hard about the letter and what it said when we discuss later on at the meeting on the agenda item again on rebuilding a new station. Because if a group is actively going to oppose it, which they have all right to do, and we expend taxpayer money on getting a bond issue on the ballot, that is pretty much doomed to failure if you have an active opposition to it. It's a waste of taxpayer money. So when that is up for deliberation later on this meeting, I think everyone should think about that. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. No, mine comes in old history, old business. Sorry. Yes. No. I'm a little shocked right now.
One other thing that I'd like to request to our board, excuse me, this might go on all night, is that if we want things on the agenda, can we please get them 7 days in advance? Anything later than 7 days will have to wait until the until the next meeting. Can we all agree to that, please?
No. No.
Okay, you don't have to agree. I'm making a request that it's 7 days, because it's a hardship on everyone who has to put this agenda together.
Understood.
Thank you. All right, approval of the meetings, minutes from 1:23.
Motion to approve.
Is there a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Santoro, is that correct?
No. Mr. Archibald.
By Commissioner Archibald. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor of approving the minutes from the 23rd of January, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Madam,
Commissioner.
could you delete that to, I wasn't at that meeting, so there's no vote by me.
Okay, 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Champagne. Any communications?
Yes.
Commissioner Santoro.
Since the last meeting, I've been in communication with some of the town legislatures in reference to the new fire station, just to put it bluntly. Trying to work on getting some funding from our state, and I've had some positive interactions so far, and I'm awaiting response from another person. The legislature is going to reach across the aisle to the other person to find out what they've done, how it's gone in the past. If there's no response from the state level, then I do plan on going to the federal level and work higher up. You know, obviously, any money that we can get is good money. Any assistance we can get will help. So I have been in contact with them a few times, and I'm still waiting to hear back.
Thank you.
When I hear back, you'll hear back.
Thank you. Anything else? Moving on. Old business? None.
I have some.
Commissioner Santoro.
It's not on the agenda, but following up on last meeting's discussion we had in regards to changing from quarterly to yearly collections, I obtained the yearly rate on that money market account we have at Navigant Bank. It's 1.5%. We currently collect $50,000 on that. If we change to, it's actually 1.5%. So if we change to a yearly collection amount as of July 15th, 20th or so, we'll have about $100,000, which is a considerable amount of money in the bank. That will be essentially a separate line item that can be used for whatever the chief, Ron's finance committee, and myself and Archie, if we're still here, for things like down payments for large expenditures or for whatever. So I have researched into that item we discussed for just discussion. I will be discussing with the solicitor how to get that put into a agenda item for a vote.
A resolution. Okay.
Resolution.
All right. Thank you.
7 days before, maybe 8, maybe
7
9.
days before.
Maybe 9.
9 would be great.
9 would be great.
Yep. Shoot for 9.
Shoot for the sky.
Okay. You know, get a little calendar and put a date on it 9 days before. Excellent. All right. New business. Finance report from December and January. Do we want to hear from...
Or any questions?
Any questions? How about any questions on the finance report? Hearing none? Accept. Is there a motion to accept the finance reports?
I'll make a motion to accept.
By Commissioner Archibald. Is there a second? Can I second? Second by Commissioner Willett. All in favor of accepting the finance reports from December and January, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Are you
Madam Chair?
abstaining?
Yes, because I was not here at those meetings.
Okay. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Chief, your report, please. We lumped them together.
For January, it shows the accompanying graph that the fairly consistent month of 473 total incidents. A good portion of those being rescue and EMS, along with 314 rescue EMS, a dozen fires, quite a few service calls. The significant event during January was the meeting with the Auditor General, which has created a lot of discussion, and we'll have some more tonight, I'm sure. One thing that has evolved through the Department of Health is the additional regulations, additional drugs that would have been required to be carried by the engine companies as a C1A. So after diligent deliberation between the parties, the EMS deputy, myself, and the captains, we've decided that a good basic life support system is more beneficial for the amount of times that we were actually using the life support drugs in the field. So we've downgraded from advanced life support engine companies to basic life support engine companies. And the response to the citizens probably won't be that noticeable, because it won't be that noticeable with a Cumberland or a Lincoln rescue coming in. The response times have been fairly consistent. We might have some issues if it's a Attleboro or a Pawtucket rescue coming in, but for the most part, the cost benefit was overwhelming. That a good BLS service would be much more advantageous to us at this point. There was some drugs that were being mandated. We would have had to put double safes on the trucks to house these drugs. They're somewhat popular, and there just wasn't enough need for us to justify going through all of the expense to lock the drugs down.
Chief,
Yes,
what happened to the intermediate kind of,
went away.
just, the Department of EMS decided that,
Yep.
it's kind of ludicrous to have us carrying, you know,
There's talk of, there's talk of revitalizing that, because there was so many municipalities that had members in that category, that now we either have to upgrade to cardiac or downgrade to just EMTs. So that's not a complete eliminated issue yet, but in the initial change of licensure, that was eliminated.
yeah, that's too bad.
Any other questions for the chief? Is there a motion on the table?
Make a motion to accept chief's report.
By Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Santoro. All in favor of accepting the chief's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, passes 6-0. Okay, the next resolution, first resolution tonight, authorizing me to enter into a contract with Haig, Sahadi and Company, PC, to perform the annual audit for Cumberland Fire District for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, and with 2 additional options for fiscal years ending in June 30th, 2019, and June 30th, 2020. The Cumberland Fire Committee received 3 proposals from qualified bidders, and a selection of the committee consisting of Chief Finley, Deputy Finance Director Beth Markey, and former Finance Director for the town of Smithfield, Dennis Finley, reviewed the proposals independently, and the committee unanimously determined that the proposal of Haig, Sahadi and Company was the auditing firm most qualified for the audit. The audit contract will be $15,000 for FY18, with options to extend FY19 for an amount of $16,000, and FY20 for an amount of $17,000. The Auditor General has reviewed the audit bid specifications, and the award is subject to the approval by the Auditor General. So, be it resolved that Chairwoman Willett is authorized to enter into a contract with Haig, Sahadi and Company to perform the annual audit for the Cumberland Fire District for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, with 2 additional options for fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2019 and June 30th, 2020. Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Champagne. Second by Commissioner Santoro.
Just so the date has to be changed on the adoption date.
The date has to be changed to March 8th, 2018. Thank you for pointing that out. Is there a vote? All in favor of accepting?
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Scullin.
One question I have is the selection committee. It did not consist of any members of the finance subcommittee. Is there any reason for that?
I cannot answer that question at this time.
Well, I think if we're looking at an order for 3 years, I think the finance subcommittee should have play some role in the selection of the auditor.
Well, to be truthful with you, Finance Subcommittee was not involved, but I find nothing wrong with the 3 people that were involved in it, and especially with Mr. Finley, with his 20-some-odd years of being the manager of Smithfield, for the town of Smithfield, and who comes highly recommended throughout the state. I can't find anybody that would say anything bad about Mr. Finley. And of course, the chief has been actively involved with all audits. I see nothing wrong with that committee. Maybe next year, maybe there should be somebody from the finance committee. But this late in the game, I have no problems with it. I don't know if Mr. Ashambo has a problem, or
No, I'm
Mr.
good.
Santoro.
I'm
I
good.
think they've done due diligence. They scored them, they worked together, and I feel that they've taken the best, what they feel to be the best company to do the audit.
Well, I will not be supporting this resolution. I just feel that the subcommittees are not being allowed to perform their functions for some reason lately.
Can I just, if you want the subcommittees to be involved, you can definitely propose an amendment to the bylaws. The bylaws say that the finance subcommittee particularly is highly involved with the budget, but if you want to propose a resolution to amend the bylaws that they also participate in some way, whatever way you would like to propose, I'd be happy to prepare a resolution to that effect.
Just by their nature, they should be involved. That's what I'm saying, that how does this get by, and we have the chief involved, but not the finance subcommittee? It doesn't make any sense.
So just, again, a lot of stuff that we do is kind of modeled on what the town does. And I think, as you know, there's a professional services committee for the town, which would kind of involve the same type of people that were involved in this choice. So, I mean, I think it's a good idea to involve the finance subcommittee, but I don't think it was inappropriate based on your bylaws. So if you'd like, I'd be happy to draft a resolution.
Where do you stop? With every single thing? Eventually, it's going to be a common sense decision. You know, when do you involve someone from, you know? I think Mr. Scullin's made his point, and we can move forward.
Do you want me to?
Madam Chair, if I can
no
shed
hurry.
some light on this. 3.5 years ago, when we engaged the services of PPA, Tom Bruce was the finance director at the time. Tom Bruce, Diane Carolishin, and myself Tom solicited the proposals. We reviewed the proposals with them. When it came time for this year, we just pulled our notes out as to how we did it 3 years ago, and we just followed the same procedure. There was no misintent of not having the finance subcommittee involved. It was just, we followed the procedure we used previously.
So the Finance Committee was not involved in the last time?
No, they weren't.
Okay. Commissioner Champagne?
The bottom line is let's take a vote on this. Mr. Scullin objects, which he has the right to. Then if he wishes to make a motion to submit a resolution for next year, or the next time there's an audit, that's fine, but I think we just can't keep on hammering this out. It's been done. The chief and the administration followed the procedures that were used the last time.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Champagne. Second? Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor of accepting the resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-2. The next resolution, engaging the services of Mr. Dennis Finley to provide temporary municipal finance services. I'd like to give a brief history of this. Excuse me. Upon giving notice in November, Diane Karaloshin posted her job as finance director with the Tax Collectors Association, as well as discussed the opening with the state auditor, general staff, and the Department of Revenue staff. We received no legitimate resumes for the position. More importantly, Diane's skill set was not only suited as finance director, but she also did a lot of office work, from management to tax collection to data entry, and her salary supported that particular position. Finance directors in Rhode Island are making between $90,000 to well over $100,000, and that is likely why there was a lack of interest. So in putting the heads together and getting creative, perhaps thinking that we could attract a finance director retiree, or a finance director or assistant that might want a few extra hours of consulting work per month, we determined that Diane was spending about 15 to 20 hours a month doing municipal finance work, and the rest was office-type work. So we feel we could attract someone to do that and use the remaining budget amount that was dedicated to that position to hire someone for the office work. So that recruiting effort is ongoing. The position was posted for finance director consultant at 15 to 20 hours per week within the last 6 weeks. 15 to 20 hours per month within the last 6 weeks. And again, with the Tax Collectors Association, Accounting Associations, Government Finance Officials Association, and have also asked the Auditor General and Department of Revenue staff to keep their eyes and ears open for potential candidates. To the date, we still have not received any resumes. In the meantime, we have to have municipal finance input to prepare required reports to the state, monthly adjusting entries, oversee cash flow, pre-audit expenses, budget work, auditor work, and this cannot be delayed. As you all know, Dennis Finley, the former finance director and town manager for the town of Smithfield, has offered to temporarily fill this consulting position. Significant to our discussion, Mr. Finley has been very clear that this is a temporary position for him, and he will not fill this position permanently. Mr. Finley is the chief's brother, and therefore our solicitor reviewed the ethics rules for the appropriateness of this potential temporary appointment. I want Kelly to explain what she's done so far.
So thank you. Knowing that, there's at least a perceived potential conflict, I looked at the ethics rules and have done some other due diligence. I interviewed both the chief and Dennis to understand practically what their roles are and what they would be. Importantly, you should understand that this committee appoints both the chief and the finance director. The chief does not hire the finance director. Also importantly, the chief has an existing contract that does not expire until 2019, so there will be absolutely no input on the chief's wages or benefits during Mr. Finley's engagement. This committee adopts the Cumberland Fire District's annual budget with input from the chief and with consultation by the finance director and with a recommendation by the finance subcommittee, Because the chief does not and will not supervise, evaluate, appoint, or discipline the finance director, which is the language contained in the ethics rules, I don't believe the appointment is an ethical conflict from a legal perspective. But to be sure, I have requested an advisory opinion from the Ethics Commission on Mr. Finley's behalf, which is scheduled to be heard next Tuesday, March 13th. I also spoke with 2 Ethics Commission staff attorneys. They have both preliminarily agreed that it is not an ethical conflict, and that today they issued a draft opinion that was sent on to the Ethics Commission, which states, that they're suggesting it's not an ethical conflict, but the Ethics Commission will review that next Tuesday. I've also read prior advisory opinions with facts similar to these, and I think that it's likely, and based on my conversations with those staff attorneys, I think it's likely that the Ethics Commission will find that there's no ethical conflict from a legal standpoint. So in order not to delay your consideration of this appointment, you're not meeting until late April. If you choose to appoint Mr. Finley tonight, you can adopt the resolution conditioned on receipt of a favorable advisory opinion. And after the hearing on Tuesday, if you do adopt the resolution, I will email the committee to let you know what the commission's opinion was. I don't know if they'll have an actual written opinion on Tuesday, but I can let you know, and then I can send you all the opinion when it comes in. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Ms. Morris?
Yes.
I have to agree with what you say. In reading case law or case decisions by the Ethics Commission, because I went through it with the Cumberland Hill Fire Department, with the past chief and his son working for the Cumberland Hill Fire Department. As long as the chief was not supervising his son, it was fine that he could be employed by the Cumberland Hill. In looking at other cases from the Ethics Commission, Chief Finley will not be supervising his brother. If anybody's going to be the supervisor, it's going to be Cynthia. Or maybe the Finance Committee. I'm not going to say, it's not going to be either one of us, but it's going to be someone other than the chief. So at this point, I think it's clear sailing, because it's very, very clear when you go through, like you say, when you look at the ethics rulings in the past and personal experience with Chief Susi and his son, the only thing we did was we had a memorandum of understanding that the deputy chief would supervise the son. So as long as it's clear, and I agree with you, that Chief Finley will not be his supervisor, and maybe we should just make it clear in the resolution. I mean, you do have a comment in here about the Ethics Commission has I just think we need a little wording. Maybe I might be wrong, but did I read somewhere in here that the Ethics Commission had okayed it?
Well, yes, so the third whereas says, it assumes that you've already received one. I actually expected something earlier than tonight.
Right.
But if you want to add another, well, you could, actually, what you would do is in resolved, the Cumberland Fire Committee hereby engages the services of Dennis Finley to provide temporary municipal finance service as an hourly rate of $75 and not to exceed 20 hours per month. And then you could add a line, Chief Finley is prohibited from supervising Mr. Finley for this engagement.
I just think it safeguards all of us, and doesn't open up a door of favoritism.
Yep, you'd have to make a motion to that effect if you want to amend the resolution.
Okay, I'll make a motion now to amend it.
Motion to amend the resolution. Is there a second?
Well, second. You can do a second.
Second for discussion.
Is there a second? Commissioner Jones.
For discussion.
Is there a discussion?
I don't know where we are in terms of the original motion in the first place. Has there been a motion to accept the first motion?
No.
No.
No. So,
So,
we had
Well, the
this,
first motion can be withdrawn if you want to make an amendment.
we had this problem, I anticipated this happening again, and I printed these out. And you're gonna be offended if I pass these out. And this is what... Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. We had this problem before with, how to get these motions and amendments from the whole bit. We can pass these down if you want. You have to make a motion, accept the whole motion, second it, discussion, then make amendments. And you can disagree, but this is from Robert's Rules of Orders.
okay, it's simple enough. I'll make a motion
Okay.
motion to accept
Motion to accept
the original.
the original resolution. Commissioner Champagne, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Archibald.
So now we're in discussion.
Now discuss.
So now, I also have something to discuss as well. Kelly, did you get the safe harbor? Or this, the, what's it called again? I kept missed. No, what the hell's it called?
I don't know what you mean.
I asked you 3 times in emails, and I didn't log my computer on. Does,
The only thing I was going to get was a safe harbor.
safe harbor, did you get that?
No.
Okay.
So
Then-
that's why I'm saying the safe harbor, just so everyone understands, the Ethics Commission staff, prior to it going to hearing, can issue what's called a safe harbor opinion. And you would have been able to rely on that only until the commission decides.
Okay,
So the staff did not have the time to get that out. So
okay.
now we just wait for the commission to decide, that's all.
When is it on schedule to be heard by the commission?
Tuesday.
So what is the rush? Why can't we wait 2 weeks?
Well, you're not meeting again until
The end of March.
the end of March. It's up to you. I'm just saying, if you don't want to delay it, if you get a favorable approval, I take no position. It's just, if you want to approve it now, you do it conditioned on getting the opinion on Tuesday. If you don't,
End of March what? What's the date?
27th, I believe.
So today's March 8th, so it's 2 weeks.
Madam Chair,
Commissioners Champagne?
there is a motion, there's a second. Can we
This
have...
is a discussion on the...
Right, but we're discussing now, and he's made his point that apparently he either votes for this, or he doesn't vote for this motion.
No, sir. No, sir. I disagree.
Well, you may disagree, but there is a motion, there's a second. You've had your discussion on it.
What is your point?
The point is, let's move.
You want to move this to vote without discussion?
You had your discussion, you said you want to wait 2 weeks, let's move on.
Can we have more discussion?
If you're going to talk about this and not wander off,
And not what?
Okay, does anyone else have any discussion on
You know-
the motion?
Madam Chair, I will
Commissioner Scullin?
go back to my concern that I had over the auditors, that we're going on almost 3 months since we've known that we're not going to have the finance director was retiring, and has since retired. And nowhere in that time has the personnel subcommittee had anything to do with the search for a new finance director or the hire of a temporary one. And again, I don't know why the subcommittees are being left out, and who's running the show here, I don't know anymore.
I believe the subcommittee was involved in Mr. Finley, correct?
No.
I believe there was a discussion during a subcommittee meeting?
yeah. You had a
You had a subcommittee meeting
At the library.
at the library.
At the library subcommittee meeting, we had a discussion.
And you thought it was a good idea to ask if Mr. Finley could take this position on a temporary basis.
I have to go through my minutes, but I'm drawing a blank. I don't have my laptop in front of me.
You had the subcommittee meeting before the regular meeting.
Yes.
We did, but we didn't have a full discussion on it. We didn't do any review. It was just thrown out there, and it wasn't
Yeah.
completed. There was no interview, there was no
I think we
resume, there was no nothing.
I think we discussed that, Mr. Finley would be discussed that it would be, considered to move forward. I'm not sure how far it went in terms of him being, the only candidate, and
He is the only candidate.
Nobody else has applied.
No one else has applied for this position.
no, I understand. I'm having a hard time recalling right now, okay? Can we slow down a little bit? If I had a chance to log on to my computer and look up my minutes, I would easily do that, but I don't have the recollection at this very moment of what was said at that particular meeting, okay?
This was a stopgap measure.
Yes, it was. I recall that.
To bring us through until we could get a permanent replacement for Diane. This was never meant to be a permanent
I am 100%.
replacement. This was just for some continuity between the Department of Revenue, the Auditor General, the Fire District, and the formulation of the next budget.
I'd like to,
You told us to proceed at that meeting.
I did. I agree. I met,
There we go.
And that's,
You agreed
and
to
that's where
proceed.
we're at tonight.
I agree.
But
And I think at this point, we're very, very fortunate that Mr. Finley is stepping up to assist us as a very well-experienced and respected person in this state. We're very lucky to have him, because if we didn't have him, we wouldn't have a finance director.
Okay, I recall.
Now, we can,
Sorry to
we
interrupt
can
you, sir.
continue to hash it out and say, yes, we had a personnel committee meeting, no, we didn't, or we did this, or we did that. But right now, the most important thing is, we need somebody. And it's before us to either yes or no, and then I will draft an amendment, or make an amendment that, as suggested, as the solicitor said, that will add that wording. You read this, it's only a temporary position. And with nobody applying, we're going to wait forever. In the meantime, we're just going to get further and further back in getting advice and reports and getting things moving forward. Now, we can sit here and argue all night if you had a meeting or not a meeting, and you don't remember, and you want to put on your computer and look it up on your computer and whatnot. It's very simple. It seems that you did have a meeting, the chief was there, other people were there, and you don't remember, or don't remember parts of it.
Now I remember.
But
I recall.
I'm just asking that so we can continue to do business with a very professional man, that you're not going to find anything wrong with him, or you're not going to find anybody saying anything bad about him. Everybody praises him because he's a very intelligent man, that we would miss out on him at this point.
I recall the meeting.
Okay.
I met Mr. Finley, we spoke, we had a conversation, and I advised the chief we should move forward. I agree with that,
All right, there we go.
okay? I advised Ms. Morris to move forward with trying to, and the chief and I spoke about nepotism, and that was my only concern, right, chief? Correct. So, and Mr. Finley is an expert, and we had a couple of interactions in the station where he passed by, I passed by. We participated in interviews for the other person. So, in the interactions, he's an excellent, excellent person. I wish he could work full-time. Yes, I recall these conversations now, okay? If you're going to press me like I'm one of your prosecutorial in your little chamber, Ron, can you tone it down a little bit? I appreciate it. I'm not a convict, calm down. Okay? So now, let's move forward for the people,
That's what we're trying to do.
not you. Thank you. So, my only concern, and the sole concern, is Ms. Morris and I have exchanged emails many times in conversations about this safe harbor. I know a lot has to be done, and I know that business is busy. I've been in the station many times, and as Ron reamed me out last week, they're working very busy. I don't know that 2 weeks' time is going to change a whole lot in making this decision versus tonight versus the 23rd. That's my only concern with not tabling this until we have that safe harbor in the solicitor's hands. I agree with you, Ron. I will tell you that a district down the hill from where you worked, the fire chief got fined $1,000 because through his deputy assigned the shifts, he got fined $1,000 because his son worked as a callman and got paid to work. Okay? So Peter Adam got fined, but Chief Susie did not.
Well, what
Okay.
I'm saying to you is,
So
if
listen
you go
to
look at case law, it's very clear.
That is case law.
It's very, right, the circumstances were different. I don't want to start getting into what happened down the bottom of the hill or what happened on Block Island.
Well, that's
It's
case
what the
law,
case,
Ron.
what's, no,
There's case law and there's case law.
but the case law that we're looking at, and that the solicitor looked at, is very clear. The chief is not his supervisor. End of story.
Can I, just one other comment on this. If we don't get a favorable opinion from the Ethics Commission, this resolution is void. The only way this resolution goes forward is if I get the favorable opinion from the Ethics Commission on Tuesday. Just want to make that clear.
So what does he do between now and Tuesday? Not work?
So he keeps working. If he gets, we get the Ethics Commission approves, he just continues. If he doesn't, he's gone.
And then we're found in
Then
violation?
we're, no, we're looking,
no,
He's
we're not.
volunteering
we're
right
looking
now.
for somebody.
He's just
We'd be looking for somebody
helping
else.
out right now. I've discussed all of this with them.
It's either you take the advice of an attorney, or you don't. And right now, we have an attorney who has done A, B, C, and D, and if you're not going to take her advice, then you don't need an attorney. When you were in practice, you had a problem, you talked to the attorney, you took the advice of the attorney, correct?
My medical practice?
Yeah.
Stay out of that, Ron.
No, I'm just saying, if you had a problem, you
Don't-
talked to the
just-
attorney.
You know, Ron, let's work for the people,
We are.
not for each other.
We are.
All right, can we vote on this, please?
I think we need more discussion. I think that,
Does anybody else want to discuss this?
can I still discuss a little bit more? I know Ms. Morris has worked her hardest on this. I still don't understand it. I mean,
So what you're saying, Paul, is you don't understand why we're rushing this?
yeah,
Okay,
2 more weeks.
anything else?
Okay, is there a motion on the table?
There's a motion,
motion.
and a second.
I'll second it.
Did you want to amend, though, or
No,
no?
We'll do the
we
amendment
gotta pass
after
it
the
first, we gotta pass the resolution first, then amend it, correct?
No,
No.
you may need to amend before you pass it. You pass it as amended. So
All
just make a motion
We already
to
did that.
amend.
Motion to
I made
amend.
amended.
Motion to amend by Commissioner Champagne.
As I worded it, is that?
As
what
you
want?
worded it.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archibald.
Yes,
This
on
is
the
on the
amendment.
amendment.
Well, I'm going to do the best I can. The chief shall not supervise Mr. Finley during the engagement. I'm typing it in right now.
All in favor of accepting the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
And this all
Passes
hinges on,
5-1.
this all hinges on the acceptance by the Ethics Board.
Oh, actually, you're
Commissioner
also
receipt
going,
of
sorry, you're going to
favorable-
amend this resolution. Someone can say so moved. This resolution is conditioned on
Ethics Board.
A favorable advisory
receipt
opinion.
of
Receipt of a
a
favorable,
favorable advisory opinion from the Ethics Commission.
Where's that gonna go?
Right under the paragraph.
So paragraph 3 should be stricken. Paragraph 3 states, whereas the Cumberland Fire District and Dennis Finley has received an opinion from the Rhode Island Ethics Commission that states there is no ethical conflict.
Well, once we get it, that will be a true statement. That's why it's conditioned. You can take out any whereas clauses because it's just facts. They're not, the resolution is where it says resolved. So if you want to take that out, you can, but once the condition is met, that applies.
I make a motion that we amendment that we remove that paragraph. As of March 8th, it's an untrue statement. It's not a fact. It's simply not true.
It's up to you.
Motion to amend by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
I'm at a loss for words.
All right, can we vote on the resolution now, as amended?
And Mr. Finley, please, I want you to understand, and Chief,
I'll make a motion.
Motion to accept the resolution as amended by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archibald. All in favor of accepting the resolution as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Passes 5-1. Okay, discussion of potential bond referendum to provide financing for Station 2 replacement, possible action.
Motion to table.
Motion to table by Commissioner Scullin. This is second. Second by Commissioner Archibald. Discussion?
There's no discussion, right?
I had thought it would be a good idea to have the full vote at our March meeting, at our regular March meeting, when we had Commissioner Hogan here also. But does anyone...
Did you vote? I'm sorry, is there a motion?
I thought we were
Table.
just...
You can't have discussion on the table.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Roll call vote on the table, please.
Roll call vote on the table. All right, Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Santoro.
No.
Commissioner Archibald.
Yes to table.
Commissioner Scullin.
Yes.
Commissioner Champagne.
No.
Commissioner Willett.
No.
No.
So that fails.
Why did you vote for her?
No, I didn't.
No, she didn't. I was going to vote no. Okay. So we now have a discussion. So anyways, I was going to suggest that in light of the discussion, if we can discuss this now, but I also would like to have a vote when the full board is present, which would be at the March meeting. Does anyone want to add in any other comments regarding the financing for Station 2 replacement?
Well, if we pass this bond issue, now we're at 4%, we're at 4%. So the money for the bond, to pay that bond, is gonna come out of that 4%, is that right?
No.
Where's it come from?
It's a separate amount of money
Where's the money coming from?
from the taxpayers.
Right, so they're getting two bills?
Debt service would be a separate section of the tax bill. What you're voting on is to put a referendum in front of the taxpayers of the town that the debt service for the fire district will go up 7 or 8 cents depending on the cost of the project. Do you wish to invest in a building for the fire district, yes or no? If they vote no, the building that we have to live with. If they vote yes, then we move forward. It's all, what you're voting on is to put the referendum in front of the taxpayers of the town of Cumberland to make an intelligent decision on if they want to invest in the infrastructure or if they don't want to invest in the infrastructure. And it comes at a cost, just as the public safety building came at a cost. The debt was being extinguished on some other bonds that the town had. They moved forward with the public safety building because there was going to be no additional tax at that time. That process moved forward. They kept the debt service payment as it had been, and they got another project going.
So, all right, so they approved this, okay?
Yep,
So we can only raise our tax by 4%.
for operations.
Excluding debt service.
So
Excluding that.
where does that money come from? So I'm saying, it's gotta come out of the budget, right?
Well, it comes out of the, I mean...
The actual tax increase would be more than 4%.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be more than
4%
4%.
plus the bond, whatever the bond
If it's, for even numbers, if it's $2 for operation and 7 cents for debt service, the tax bill would be $2.07. Yes, it is coming from the taxpayers, but they're approving the funding of it, or they're disapproving the funding of it.
We can't approve, the only way we're trying to approve, we would approve, is that we would approve to put on the ballot in the townwide election, do the taxpayers want to build a new fire station, and what that cost is going to be. They can either vote yes, or they can vote no. We can't vote on the building, because it's over the amount of money that we're allowed to spend.
Right.
So you're putting it to the taxpayers.
I understand that.
We're not voting to put a building up. We can't do that. We only can vote to put on a referendum on the ballot, and let the taxpayers decide what they want. And correct me, Madam Solicitor, but that question would be worded in such a manner that they would be able to make an intelligent decision if they want to vote
Right,
for it
yeah.
or not.
We'll hopefully get the wording right.
Right.
It will be something pretty simple, like shall the fire district borrow bonded indebtedness in an amount up to whatever you decide
Right.
for the purpose of replacing, I don't know if it would be the address or Station 2 or something like that.
Right. I think some people are thinking that we're approving building a building. We're not. We're just approving a referendum.
Correct.
I guess.
Which also has to go to the General Assembly for approval.
Correct. Thank you.
That would be a weekly cost.
Yeah, that's the weekly cost, but this is
Can't be doing that.
ask Mr. Finley, like the procedure, like step by step, and the time frame. Would that be in order? Because he's dealt with,
I should answer that if you want to know.
you have the time.
Well, because I've been talking to the bond counsel.
Sure. Should I ask you when?
You want to know what the
Just
process
like
is?
The process and the time frame and when, if and when it was approved.
So at some point, I would need, if you wanted to move forward, I would need the committee to authorize me to prepare a resolution, and I can prepare the resolution. I would have bond counsel take a look at it, just to make sure, there's many, basically templates that I can use, but I'd want a bond counsel to look at it. So then it would come before you for a resolution. And then if you approve that resolution, then we have to go to the General Assembly to get it approved to be on the ballot in November. And in if the General Assembly approves it, then it goes on the ballot in November. And then, once that's approved, the committee, whoever that is, later has to issue another resolution to actually issue the bond, the indebtedness. So there are several levels of resolutions and decisions. That would, that particular stage would be after the first of next year. But in terms of process, you'd have to get that resolution, I told the chair, you'd have to get that resolution passed, pretty soon, because the General Assembly is going to leave in June, and you need for them to approve it, before they leave, so. Okay?
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned the financial burden of getting these things done last time. You said it was between 10,000 and 50,000?
Well, that's the whole process.
Okay.
I talked to bond counsel again, and they've agreed that I would do the resolution, which is, my hourly rate is much lower than theirs. So I would do the resolution, and then they just take a look at it. So it would be a minimal, I would say, I don't know, under 2,000 for them to look at it. Again, that's an estimate.
Okay. I'd like to put that in this resolution somewhere.
There's no resolution pending.
Okay, well, during this, somewhere when we pass this resolution, the chief just imposed a budget freeze on everything. We can't even buy pens and paper. The men are going without, anything they need for. So the chief just imposed a total budget freeze, right, chief? Correct. So I understand we need a building. I understand it's going to cost us money, and Ms. Morris is going to do excellent work as always to prepare this referendum. But I don't want to spend more than. I want to spend as little as possible before the end of this budget season, June 30th of 18, to prepare this bond to save money, to keep as much money in the department, to pay the firefighters, pay their insurance, keep everything going, keep the department as solvent as possible, and keep the money going where it has to go. The vehicles, the buildings, and everything going forward. Does that make sense?
Madam Chair? I have a question for the chief. Commissioner Santoro just made a statement that I need a real clarification on. In the beginning of his statement, he says that the men are going without.
I'm not going without.
You just said that. You said the men were going without. Our firefighters going without paper towels, pens, pencils, toilet paper, equipment? Because he's making a statement publicly
I misspoke.
that
I apologize.
that we are going without, the men are going without. And we need, if that's true, then I think
the commissioner just answered his own question.
I misspoke.
Or your question.
okay, thank you.
He's not ordering extra.
My only concern was that you said the men were going without, and that leaves a real open area that they're going out without equipment and necessary items.
I misspoke.
That's all, Paul. I don't want to debate it any further.
I apologize.
Okay, it's clarified.
Yeah. The point is that the budget freeze is a budget freeze. And I want the money to go to the most appropriate places. Are you saying, now, another question, Ms. Morris, very interesting. So, this committee, most of us, are in favor of a new building. November 11th, 2018, the new committee comes in and says, motion number 1, no new building. That can happen?
Yes. Well, there'll be another resolution after the,
Well,
if
whatever.
it makes it all the way to the ballot,
Yep,
then there has to be another resolution later down the line
yep.
to actually issue the bonds. Yeah.
So the new group that comes in may just say, you know what? Even though the town taxpayers voted 80%, we want a new building, and we're gonna spend 7 cents per thousand, and the new committee can just say, thank you very much, but, and that 7 cents cannot be allocated towards other things. It's just taken off of their tax bills.
Well,
Well,
no.
it's not put on their tax bills yet.
It's not even attached to it. Okay,
No, because it hasn't been authorized to expend the money.
okay, great.
They would just either vote or not vote that they would agree to bond for a new station.
Is there a reference for this, Kelly, that, like, article or some kind of municipal reference bond issue you can refer me to?
For what?
This?
I don't know what you mean. But
Like,
for
is
the
there a...
procedure?
Yeah, the procedure.
No, I mean, I'm just telling you
From
how it goes.
20 years of experience, okay. I'm been looking online for, how to figure this out and make it work, but I just can't find any... Dr. Google doesn't always have the answers to everything, or Attorney Google, but...
So Paul, we decide whether or not we want the voters to get an opportunity to vote. That goes before the General Assembly. And they will either agree or disagree. If they agree, it goes on the ballot in November. The voters make that decision.
Yep.
If they decide, and there is a new committee, and the committee decides that they do not want to see this happen, then it just goes away.
Okay.
If the committee then does want to see this happen, then they establish a plan and move forward in the project.
Okay,
All right? That's about as simple as we can get it.
sure.
Are you done, Paul?
For right now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The chief issued a bond payment worksheet. Should that be explained now for the public? Because, we're throwing a lot of figures around. It's a breakdown, chief, you right? Is that appropriate this time to just...
So it's a back to you, back.
Madam Solicitor, can we discuss that at this point, seeing that the issue is tabled? That's all part of the item that Mr. Scullin tabled. That is the actual document.
That's been tabled.
No, yeah, that item did not, the table motion didn't pass, so you can discuss anything relating to the potential bond referendum.
Okay, so Mr. Scullin, just correct me, I've so much going on. Is Mr. Scullin's table did not pass?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's on the...
I just want to be clear, though, and I'm not, Chief, worked on this. We also have a financial advisor. I just want to be clear that this is the chief's worksheet. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying it's, his number, so.
Well, if it's not appropriate, that's fine, but it just, people probably want a rough idea of what this whole project...
Well, yeah, so we talked about that at the roundtable discussion,
Right.
and it's between $250,000 to $300,000 a year in debt service for between 15 and 20 years, based on an estimated 5.5% to 6% interest rate. So, I think what the chief did was he kind of averaged all that in, which, so I just want you to know, this isn't like the actual numbers. The economy can change. There's a lot of things that can change. But you can talk about this. I just wanted to be clear that these aren't actual numbers, and the numbers can change based on the economy particularly.
Okay,
I would like to see Mr. Finley go over those numbers with a fine-tooth comb, because this is a project that's not going to be shovel in the ground tomorrow or in a year from now. It's going to take a couple of years before we get the shovel in the ground if it passes. It may be taking 2 years or 3 years. I don't know, Mr. Finley, am I correct to say that this is not something that is going to happen tomorrow or December 1st after elections? This is something that's going to be several years down the road before it.
That is correct. Every bond issue that's approved in a general election, it's usually at least 2 years of preparation before the bonds are issued.
Okay.
You want to know all your costs up front, your architect, your plans that this board will approve, and everything is in place to go before you issue the bonds. Because once you issue the bonds, you only have, I believe, it's 7 years to utilize that money, or you have to give it back.
Okay. All right, I just would like you to be able to take a look at everything and project it out for us, if that's possible.
Okay.
Mr. Finley, if I could ask you a question. In your experience, am I just chasing the wind with asking legislatures for money at the state level to help us with building this station?
No, absolutely not. If you don't ask, you will not receive.
Have you ever seen them give money for a fire station?
I've seen them through a quasi-public organization finance some of the stations.
Okay. All right, good. Could you help me with this process?
Certainly.
Cool. Awesome. Good to know.
Any further discussion?
So, the only thing that I would ask is, again, if you want me to prepare a resolution for the next meeting, it's going to incur some cost other than my cost. So I'd want some direction as if you want to go forward with preparation of the resolution, or if you're just going to discuss it again at the next meeting. That's up, you know.
What would be the deadline? What would be the deadline with the General Assembly? I know most cities and towns and whatnot, they're allowed to submit bills right up to the last minute.
Yeah, I mean,
Would they consider ours at the last minute, or they just say, well, you're not a city or town, and then we're just gonna...
I really can't answer that
Or is it the sooner
question.
the better to
Yeah.
get it in?
I think it depends on their level of interest, honestly,
Yeah.
but that's just my, opinion.
In other words, we should...
The earlier the better if you want it to get
Okay.
there for
All right.
consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, how long will it take if we delay this until the end of March, and then you prepare the resolution?
Well, you can always schedule a special meeting, but if you want to continue this discussion to the end of March, and you just go by regular meetings, then it's the end of April when a resolution is considered. Or you can schedule a special meeting before your regular April meeting. It's totally up to you. But whenever you tell me to do it, it will be ready by, well, you gotta give me a week. But, I mean, if you give me a week, I can get it done.
Okay.
More than a week would be better, but,
Yeah.
because I'll have to have that bond council look at it, so.
All right. Okay.
Does this item on the agenda allow us to,
You can take action.
okay.
And the only reason why I put possible action is for you to direct me to do something if you want to. You're not taking action on any resolution. I just don't, you're all worried about spending money, so I did not want to prepare a resolution, have somebody look at it without you knowing about it.
My feelings are that at this point, have an obligation to put it to the taxpayers and let them decide what they want. I don't think we should be saying, yes, we want a fire station, no, we don't want a fire station. Let them decide, let them, through the media, educate them as to why, how come, what for, and then let them make the decision. Once they make the decisions, if it's right, wrong, or indifference, our hands are clean, we've done our job. They can't ever come back and say, well, you didn't tell us that there should be a consideration of a new fire building, or no. I think it's imperative at this point. You know, early on when we first merged, I heard all kinds of stories about Station 2, that the kitchen, the TV room, the report writing area was all in one room, and the telephone, and pots and pans would be banging, and someone's trying to write a report. I've heard stories about the bunk room being hot in the summer and being cold in the winter, and road traffic noise keeping the firefighters up. I've heard it all. Now, they may have changed their mind, but this is, you know, a couple of years ago. But to me, it's just let the taxpayers know what's going on and let them decide, just like they did with the police station. The police station, they told them the building's too small, it's antiquated, and the taxpayers decided to build a new fire station, a police station. So that's my feeling at this point, is to put the resolution out there, and the taxpayers are going to decide. Do they want to pay the 7 cents or 3 cents or whatever more on their bill to get a new building? Because eventually, most of these buildings are going to have to be replaced. I mean, it's like most of these buildings now we have, like the house that Jack built. Put an addition here, put an addition there, put a second floor on. We've done all kinds of things. So that's just my opinion at this point.
But to put this before the voters is going to cost us what? 10,000?
I don't think it'll cost that much. You know, not based on my latest conversations with bond counsel. It'll be, I mean, it won't be 10, but it could be close to that.
And that will be put into the bond itself. That cost will roll into the bond.
Yeah, but if the bond isn't approved, we could still pay the $9,000 or $10,000 out of the budget, right?
It's rolled into the bond. It's going to be paid over 20 years.
If it's not approved, it comes out of the general funds, right?
Right. What's the chance you're going to pay?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Question. The appreciation, we went through this process over the year, talking with the architect, with construction costs and so forth. And Chief, if you can recall, this has been going on for a year. It's nothing new that we've been looking at this. What is the appreciation, if you know, of construction costs if we kick this thing down the road? If you recall.
It's about 4% a year. Construction costs go up. This year is remarkably higher because of all the natural disasters. Plywood, wood, that stuff went up multiple, you know, like $10, $15 a sheet overnight as the demand for replacement facilities in Florida and Texas, the demand was just so great, the costing went through the roof. But on the average, it's about 4% a year that you figure into the construction cost.
Okay. Would we like to authorize the solicitor to proceed with the resolution?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, we can wait until Commissioner Champagne comes back, so that we can be prepared at the March meeting. Any further discussion, any other questions?
I just want to make sure we include that, the amount spent limit.
For this step.
What's that? For this step, yeah, just for this initial step.
You want to include the amount spent?
No, the step.
This first step. I just want to include that before June 30th, we don't spend more than $2,000.
Oh, I can't promise you that.
Well, then we're back at square one. We just discussed this for,
She's talking about the bonds to get...
no, we just discussed this, and you said it would take you $2,000 to,
No, bond counsel.
Bond counsel, she said.
you said you could do the work, you could write a lot of it yourself, have bond
Which
counsel.
I bill you for.
Yep, you have $20,000, you have a lot left, because you haven't, you've been...
Okay, move on.
So anyways, like I said, the chief put a budget freeze on, and now we're gonna have to try and find money to draft
A resolution,
a resolution.
right.
Vote against it, Paul. Let's move on.
What's that?
Just vote against it then.
No,
Beating a dead
because,
horse here.
well, I wanna get across to everyone on the board that if we're taking from Peter to pay Paul for something that may not get approved, and it's,
Look at the 4% construction costs that mount every year, so figure that into...
that's 3.5 million. So what is the most it will cost us between now and June 30th?
10 grand.
Yeah, I would say 10,000 if I had to put a number out there. Because I'm not going to put either myself or the bond counsel in a position of not getting paid.
Last month meeting, it was 50,000.
Well, no, that was for the entire process. And I told you at that meeting that I would discuss with bond counsel what this particular stage would cost, which I've done, and I've just explained it all to you tonight.
You said 2,000 a half an hour ago.
For bond counsel.
You can raise your voice all you like, and
So you're requesting 10?
Well, I'm just saying that I can't imagine going over 10.
where's it gonna come from?
There's a line item for...
It's for legal, and then we have legal CBA.
You also have a building fund. I mean, you'd have to ask Dennis,
They're
Madam
building,
Chair, can you move this along? This is
Yes.
getting ridiculous now.
it's,
We have a building fund.
it's
For the whole process was...
90,
90, was it? So would it come out of that? Being conservative on it, but that would be a logical place to, please? Your pick, what line do you want to take it out of, Jim?
he has none, he put a budget freeze on. He can't take money out of anything.
We can.
We could take money out of that, we could approve it.
that was not part of the budget freeze, by the way.
No, it wasn't part of the budget freeze.
Was the operations.
That line item wasn't part of the budget freeze.
How do we know that?
Because it was all
'Cause
given to you.
It was given to us
When?
at the last meeting.
I don't have it. I didn't get it.
You did.
I did, okay.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
Let's take it out of it's gonna come out of the building fund, it's $90,000. Chief, how much have we spent, without me going all the way through this, for the building fund? We're beating a dead horse. We're either gonna spend the money and put it in the referendum or not.
Motion to table.
I already tried that.
We already tried that. We are,
I'm re-motioning it.
is there a second? Motion fails. Can we vote to authorize the solicitor to prepare a resolution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
That does not pass.
That does not pass.
So you'll have to, whatever you want to do, you can either take it up next time or not.
All right, we'll take it up next time.
I'm sorry, but, I mean, these numbers keep changing.
Public input.
I'll watch the tape and,
Any public input? Motion to end this meeting? by Commissioner Champagne.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Santoro. All in favor, say aye.
I didn't say...
Opposed? Passes 6-0.